Hello again, everybody. You know, it's so easy to criticize politicians, isn't it? I mean, and they make it easy for us. They're just easy, fair game. And I've done it here on the podcast, of course, and done it a number of times on my weekly commentary over the years. But guess what? We're going to take a different route this time. I am actually going to praise some politicians. I'm going to give a big pat on the back. Not necessarily to today's politicians. We'll circle back to that. Maybe we might. But no, I'm going to go back to the late 90s, and in particular, the 105th Congress. And that was a year that was led by a senator from Delaware, and perhaps you know the name, especially the last name, William Roth. There he is right there. Recognize the last name? Roth? Maybe you don't remember him. He has since passed away. But William Roth, Senator Roth, Bill Roth, came up with this new retirement investment vehicle that had his name attached to it. The very next year in 98, Congress passed it. President Bill Clinton signed it. And since 1998, we have had the Roth IRA. To me, that is the holy grail of investment vehicles, where you can take after-tax money, you put it into a Roth, and it grows not only tax deferred, but then you get to pull the money out tax free. We make sure our own clients, if they qualify, to make sure that they're contributing to a Roth IRA, and even later in life, if it makes sense from a financial planning process, to look at Roth conversion. So thank you very much, Senator Roth. Thank you to that 105th Congress. That is something that actually our politicians did very well, very expertly. Now, that gets us to today. Will we, in the future, look back to right now, the 119th Congress? Let's say I'm still doing my podcast years from now. I'm 85 years old, and I'm still here doing this. And we look back to 2025, and could we possibly say, hey, hats off to the 119th Congress, because they came up with something called the Trump Savings Account. Trump Savings Account. Wonder where that name might have come from.
That's a good question. I don't know.
Okay. Anyway, the Trump Savings Account, part of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act that was signed on July 4th. Now, what we want to do is take a look at some of the particulars in this Trump Savings Account and answer a couple of questions. One, is it a viable vehicle to save for retirement? What is it? We'll take a look at that. And after we look at that, should you use it? Or are there better solutions? All right, so let's dig into this right now and first ask, what is it? What is it? Like I said before, it is a retirement savings account. Now, it acts a little bit more like a traditional IRA in that, yes, you use after-tax dollars. It grows tax deferred, but you do have to pay tax on the distributions later on in life. You have to wait until 59 and a half, just like a regular IRA, or you'd pay a penalty. There are some other provisions we won't get into too much, but that's really the gist of it, very much like a traditional IRA. But that's where the similarities stop. So I'm going to throw up a couple of slides here as we take a look at who's eligible and what are some of the other things that you need to know about. So first of all, who can put money into it? Oh my goodness, this is interesting. Only kids born in a 4-year period. Between January 1st of 2025, of course we've already passed that date, through the end of 2028. So this is obviously a pilot program. I can't imagine that if it's having some success, that's it. Well, you had to win the luck of the birth draw years ago if you were born in that 4-year period. No, I can imagine that they would extend that. But for now, that's the rule. So any kid, any of your grandkids that born in this 4-year period are eligible. Then what? Let's say you have a kid or a grandkid that falls into that time frame. Okay, you open the Trump Savings Account, and the government immediately puts $1,000 in. You don't have to do anything. That's put in. Now, your contribution, it can come from anybody, but $5,000 annually, and that is capped, no more than $5,000. Now, here's one provision I love. Your employer, if you are working, can put in $2,500. Now, it still goes against the cap, but I can see this being a very friendly thing for employers in a connection to their employees, their workers, to say, look, I'm going to incentivize you to really help your newborn child or that grandkid you were telling me about. If you put in $2,500, I, as your CEO, as your employer, I'm going to match you. I'll put in $2,500. I tell you, that's stickiness there, and it makes you loyal to the company. So we'll see if that works, but I love the idea. All right. Limited investment options here. They're only supposedly going to be a few ETFs that track an index like the S&P 500. We'll see. These things are not going to be available until 2026, so don't go right out and think you can open that account just yet. But next year, again, if you've had that kid or grandkid that was born back in 25, you could open this. So let's go with a hypothetical example just to simply show you how this would work. Okay, you open the account. There you go. The government puts in immediately the $1,000. You or whoever, you get your $5,000. Now, you can only invest up to that $5,000 for 18 years, and then it has to stop. It's very interesting. No more after that. And then it just has to grow until 59 and a half. Now, we're going to use an 8% annualized return in this hypo here. I know the S&P 500 historically has averaged closer to 10%, but there have been long stretches where it's done less than that. And there's also a chance maybe that you might have a bit of money in a bond index too. I think 8% is a more realistic number to put in there. So what's the amount that you could have if you let this thing go to age 60? This is incredible. Look at this. At 8%, $4.8 million. Let me stop right there. Remember, no money was added after the age of 18. You started with $1,000, you put in $5K for 18 years, and you got 8%. Let's go back to the slide. There it is again, that $4.8 million. I do want to put in 6% just in case the returns, for whatever reason, are a little bit lower. But folks, it's still $2.2 million. Some of you might pick up on the fact that that's a pretty big gap, by the way, between the two. 6 and 8% are decent returns, but holy cow, look at that final number. Now, that's making a lot of assumptions. Nobody is touching it. We have normal market returns and all that. Again, these are hypothetical illustrations. And we also know inflation is going to erode that. $4 million is a lot of money. I'm going to suspect that 5 or 6 decades from now, that's still going to be a decent amount of money. Not as much as it is today, but it's not chump change, I don't think, even then. All right, this seems like a no-brainer. Why wouldn't you do this for your newborn child during that 4-year period? Well, it's a good question, all right? So it depends on what your goal is. If your goal is college education or even some private high school, so it's some kind of education, the Trump savings account falls short. You want to do the good old-fashioned 529 plan, and there are a few reasons why. Number one, taxes. As you may know, you pull money out of a 529 plan later on for education. It's tax-free. In that regard, it's like a Roth IRA, right? In the Trump savings account, you have to pay tax. Even though you are allowed to pull some money out before 59 and a half, yes, you can access it, no 10% penalty, but you pay tax. On long-term capital gains rate, that's very interesting. You know, in a traditional IRA, you pull money out, you pay ordinary income tax rates. With this Trump savings account used for college, you pay at long-term capital gains rate. So it is a little bit better, but it's not the 529, which is tax-free. So check number one there obviously goes toward the 529. How much money you can put into it? That's another big difference. The 529, without having to report anything, as long as you stay within the gift exclusion number each year, you're fine. So right now it's $19,000. If you've got the money, or grandma and grandpa have the money, or whoever, you can put up to $19,000 per individual. So if you do that and your spouse does it, there's $38,000 for one child. And you do that every year. And that number goes higher, of course. The Trump savings account, $5,000. Again, that's nice, but that falls short to people with money. Third, state tax deduction. You know that with 529s. Now, some states it's a tax credit, but either way, you have some tax incentives with the 529 plan. You get no deduction by making a contribution to the Trump savings account. And lastly, this started just a couple of years ago, and I love this. One of the great things now that have been added to the Roth. Any unused dollars in the Roth IRA account, that now adult child can convert up to $35,000 over 5 years to a Roth. From unused $529 to a Roth, tax-free. Wonderful. There's no such thing, no conversion with the Trump savings account. All right. So it's very clear there. If you are wanting to save for college specifically, do not do the new Trump savings account. Go with the 529. So you might say, all right, Dave, fair enough. What if I just want to save money for my kids' long-term retirement years from now, 50 years from now, 60 years from now? I probably won't be around, but I want to leave this legacy for this newborn, for my newborn grandson, let's say. All right, now we're on to something here. You open up the Trump savings account, you put 1,000, or the government puts in 1,000, you start doing the 5,000, absolutely. Knock yourself out. That's where this would fit until that child is old enough to actually start earning some income. Even if he's 14 years old and he's mowing lawns in the neighborhood and makes a couple grand over a summer, that money needs to go into a Roth IRA. The Roth IRA for long-term retirement savings is better than the Trump savings account. In the Roth, of course, you can invest in anything that you want. In the Roth, later on in life, when you pull money out, it's tax-free. So let me put all of this together, okay? If you're saving for your kid's college education, you need to go with the 529 plan. That's the best solution. When your kid is born, up until he actually starts to have earned income, this is where the Trump savings account could really come into play. Do that. But as soon as that child, older in life, starts to earn money, pass the baton from the Trump savings account, now you're just going to let it grow, over to a Roth IRA. You know, it could really be something. You talk about a lasting legacy. You got the 529 set up so he or she can go to school and at least have a big chunk of it paid for. And then when that child is way down later on in life, age 60 and beyond, he or she's got this big Trump savings account that's done well and this huge Roth. That is proper financial planning. And let me end with this. You might say, you know what? I don't think I really care to do any of that. I don't want to do a Trump savings account. I don't really have the money to do a Trump savings account. College is already taken care of, or my kid's going to go to junior college or whatever. Fine. At least take the $1,000. All right? It's free. The Trump savings account, if you have a child or grandchild born in this 4-year period, open the account, accept the $1,000 from all of us as taxpayers. You're welcome. And then just let it go. Put it into the S&P 500 and forget about it. I'm going to show you one more slide, and we are going to use the historical average of the S&P 500. There you go. There's your $1,000, and it's in there for 60 years. They can get it at 59.5, of course, but we're rounding up to 60. And at 10%, 1,000 grows over 300 times, folks. 304, 481. Even at 8%, you're talking 6 figures. Yes, I know, again, those numbers won't look quite as good decades from now because of inflation, but it's still going to be usable. It's still going to be a decent amount of money even then. I hope that helps. I threw you a lot of information and a lot of numbers in a short amount of time, so maybe you need to go back and kind of review some of that. But I guarantee there are people who could really benefit from this information, may not even know about the Trump savings account. They don't know much of the particulars. Please pass this on to them and let them kind of see the numbers here. And don't ever forget to hesitate to ask any further questions about this, or if you need clarification, in the comments below. Thanks much, folks. We'll talk to you again next week.